Mic'd up.
Welcome, everybody, to Mic'd Up from the PGA Tour. This week, it's also the DP World Tour at the Genesis Scotland Open from the Renaissance Club in North Berwick, Scotland. I'm John Rager, Mic'd Up PGA broadcaster, and your host of this episode called WildBills Golf Weather Report, coming to you from our Mic'd Up studios in St. Augustine, Florida, and the home course of WildBill, located at the Backyard Golf Association headquarters in Gainesville, Florida. Not only will we hear about the weather forecast, which always plays an integral part of the outcome, but we'll also have some banter about some of the special things surrounding this event, including being the event just before the big Open Championship next week. And there was only one golfer in history who's ever won both the Scottish Open and the Open Championship in the same year. We'll talk about that later. Now it's time for Wild Bill Storoe for his take on this week's weather and report from the PGA Tour, and this week, obviously, the DP World Tour.
Woohoo! Well, hey, Coach, I hope you got your plaid on, as we are traditional colors of the classic tartans, all the blue and the white of our Scottish national flag. And we're going to learn all sorts of things Scottish today. I do promise, by the end of the show, we're all going to know a little more Gaelic from our homeland, Alba. Oh, that's Gaelic for Scotland. You learned your first word. Now, this week, as Wild Bill's Golf Weather Report is jumping across the pond to the Scottish Isles, when we're all going to descend on the Renaissance Club, this newly christened home of the Genesis Scottish Open since 2019. The Renaissance Club is situated on the East Lothian coast of North Berwick, Scotland, about 20 miles east of Edinburgh. The premier golf destination is located in Cowden Hill Drive, Durlington, North Berwick, EH39, 5HS UK. Whew, that's a long address. I love talking about those old Scottish and English old addresses. Good luck finding your way here.
Well, put that stamp on that if you're going to mail something over there.
Oh, these addresses are confusing even for me. Now, not only are we jumping across the pond, but we're also going to jump through time again. We're going to go to deal with a significant time zone change. More specifically, all of Scotland functions around Greenwich Mean Time, or GMT, which is a foundational reference point for all global timekeeping and navigation throughout our long, long history in Scotland. Yeah, hey, now GMT is the prime meridian. That's zero, up and down, latitude, sideways. Zero is up and down, where it passes through the Royal Observatory in London. Should have been Scotland, but it's in London. Every global time zone is calculated as a positive or a negative based on GMT. Now, this is important because in the beginning, there were no standardizations of time. Clocks were moving around independently from regional solar areas based on when the sun rise or when the sun set. And that was very confusing for everybody. So GMT synchronized times and time zones are the worldwide, enabling synchronized global communications and shipping, including railways and ocean transport. That was a lot. That was a whole time zone just telling you that. Hey, now, with all that being said, simply, Scotland's basically 5 hours ahead of all you Yanks on the East Coast in the New World, which means all you Yanks are going to be waking up at dark 30 because it's going to be pitch dark when we're teeing off at 8 in the morning. Boy, you better get your coffee ready, and you might want to add a shot or 3 of whiskey as a topper. I got plenty of whiskey up here to show you. Oh, we've been topping it off already.
Goodness. All right.
Now, the Genesis Scottish Open is now a premier co-sanctioned event of Scotland's Golf Coast with both the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour. It's serving as the primary proving ground for the Open Championship coming up next week at the Royal Birkendale Golf Club. Now, the Renaissance Club is a hybrid link style course designed by Tom Doak. It features undulating terrain, very mature pines, lots of pines, and fast fescue greens, very fast. And now that tests players with the strong and variable coastal winds and challenges that exact demanding place on these closing stretches where they got to get right in the fairway. And these winds blow the balls all over the place, this way and that way, and up and down and everywhere. Now, the course is set up as a par 70, measuring roughly 7,282 yards and compromises of only 3 par 5s and 5 par 3s. And the other 10 are par 4s with an average distance of over 450 yards, with 6 of the par 4s even 460 yards or higher. Unlike traditional flat coastal Scottish courses, the Renaissance features some dramatic elevation changes, retaining strategically placed huge pine trees from its days as a pine forest, and it blends American parkland aesthetics with the Scottish League's elements of those challenging winds and the rain and the fog. Ooh, you can hear about the fog. Yeah. Now, these large, challenging greens, they're huge, features massive undulating fescules. I mean, there could be like 3 holes or bumps to get to the hole that yield high hitting percentages because they're so big, but require excellent touch and precise reading of these undulating greens and an accurate and mid and long iron shots approaches because these par fours are very long. And if you use your driver, you're going to get that rough. So you got to use an iron to get in. The closing stretch of the Renaissance Club is notoriously exacting, which means they got to hit the spot exactly. Okay. The 18th hole is regularly ranked as the toughest hole in the tournament circuit. A 484 par 4, especially tough when those coastal winds start blowing this way and they're blowing this way and blowing the fourth of the fifth or the firth of the fourth. Ooh, the firth of the fourth. I like saying firth of the fourth. Now, so how does the weather affect the play at the Renaissance Club? Because of the course's coastal location along the Firth of the Forth, weather is incredibly volatile and demanding factor for this tournament scoring outcome. Now, first you might ask, what is the Firth of the Forth? I actually asked that same question myself. The Firth of the Forth is a major estuary where Scotland's River Forth meets the North Sea. And the North Sea is barbaric. It's deadly. It's so cold and windy and wavy. And that's coming into our river and makes this Firth of the Forth. It significantly influences our local weather patterns and the marine conditions, which results in the following weather conditions that really impact our tournament play. The wide open shape of the estuary allows these winds to start funneling, and they're spinning and they're so fast. And the numerous storms and weather systems sweeping from the North Sea with gale-forced winds and dense fog, you can't even see your face. And the cool temperatures creating dangerous weather climates that will significantly influence the outcome of this tournament. The first is the wind, with the course positioned hard against the Firth of the Forth. Persistent coastal gales drastically affect the ball flight and distance and shot accuracy. Because this course demands precise approaches, golfers are frequently forced to use either clubbing up or clubbing down, whether they got a headwind or a tailwind, with the speeds well above 30 miles an hour. Next is the har. Ooh, the har. That's Haar, har. The har is this foggy phenomenon where the east coast of Scotland, where the har is a major dense rolling sea fog formed when the warmer, moist incoming air from the estuary overrides the cold North Sea waters and air, and it produces this thick, sporadic fog called the har, where some holes could be completely engulfed with limited visibility, while the hole right next to it might have bright sunshine. Now this severely limits the visibility of golfers in the har, which could make hitting that fairway harder, could make hitting that green harder, could be making sinking that putt even harder. Very tricky if you can't see the ball. Now rain and moisture are significantly factored to light rain as it increases drag on the golf ball, requiring altered swing power, while heavier downpours of persistent Scottish rains, that Scottish weather causes the fescue rough to become deeply penalizing. They could lose their ball. The wet conditions are saturated turf also prevent the ball from rolling and will make the greens play much slower. And of course, temperature is the fourth. Now, not to be confused with the Firth of the Forth, but actually my fourth point, with Scotland being further northern, temperatures can easily stay below 60 degrees and be really cold. And the dense, cooler temperatures make the ball travel shorter distances with cold hands and stiffer muscles, reducing the flexibility of the golfers on these link-style shot courses. Now, with all that being said, this week's weather is going to be quite boring. The outcome of the Genesis Scottish Open is going to not really make a little bit of difference, but we'll see. I mean, it starts off to be weather appears to be Scottish, very unpredictable. Temperatures are going to be in the 60s to the mid 70s with moderately westerly winds and an occasional rain shower, which could be every 5 minutes. Now, Thursday will be mostly sunny and relatively calm, boring, starting with gentle breezes peaking around 10 to 15 miles an hour and with a daytime high of 75 degrees. Now, on Friday, higher winds will shift from the northeast, breezes up to 20 miles an hour. Rain is expected to move in late in the early afternoon and evening. Now, Saturday and Sunday appears to have some lingering showers, with temperatures nudging into the low 70s, with winds expecting to remain moderate with gusts up to 18 to 20 miles an hour. Now, with that being said, it appears that the conditions in Scotland are going to be relatively boring or moderate, allowing players to learn the course quick, pick the correct clubs to carry their distances, learn how to play the green speeds, manage the winds, and hopefully have some wonderful scoring opportunities over this star-studded weekend to make this the most exciting Genesis Scottish Open yet. Now, with that being said, this is WildBill's Golf Weather Report coming to you live, remotely, as always, from across the pond in the Genesis Scottish Open in the Renaissance Club located in the Lothian coast of North Berwick, Scotland, about 20 miles east of Edinburgh, in the Backyard Golf Association from Florida. WildBill's Golf Weather Report signing out from Greenwich Mean Time, where our coffee is already made and loaded with a double shot of single malt Scottish whiskey, and I got plenty. And I think I'm going to name it WildBill's Caffeinated Rusty Nail. Now, with that being said, that's going to put some har on your back. Now it's time to keep my promise and learn you some more Gaelic, Jik, or Cockney out ood it too. Time for my haggis and my shortbreads, along with a muckle of shots. I'm Jish U East Johnak, meaning I'm ready and willing to drink a muckle of shots with whiskey with you, John. Wild Bill signing up, John. Back to you.
Well, Bill, just because your report is obviously based on weather, you may have seen me go to the computer here because you were a flurry of activity there, flurry of facts trying to figure this out. Hey, one of the things you made me think about was that we were talking about the yardage at the golf course, and realized that over in Europe, the DP Tour, they do the meters, they don't do the yards. Okay. And so I was just checking it out right here. So what they do is over there in this particular tournament, because it's a joint tournament with the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, they'll go by yards. Okay. So I thought I got you on that, thinking, oh well, he didn't do the. He obviously knows there's got to be meters in there. Hey, I look behind you there, and you got scarves and
Yep.
whiskey bottles,
Yep.
and in your golf weather report, man, you got a lot of props. So I have to try to keep up. So what I did is I had to go to the trunk there and pull up some the old course
Look at that.
St. Andrew's towels.
Wow, that's very nice.
I've never been to North Berwick, but here's another really cool course over there, Carnoustie.
Oh, look at that.
Carnoustie's where Donald Ross grew up. He was the prolific golf course architect over here. But anyhow, I can't compare to whiskey bottles and scarves. Hey, earlier we talked about in the introduction about there's only one person that's won the Scottish Open, then the next week the Open Championship, because they're always back to back, very close to each other, and it's in the same year.
I don't even know who that is. Who is that, John?
I'm going to give you a guess. Guess who you think it is?
Rory McIlroy?
No, it happened in 2013.
Oh boy, Tiger Woods.
Well, no, that would be a bad guess though. In 2013, newly minted bad boy of golf now, Phil Mickelson.
Oh wow! All right, wow. There's a blast from the past. Look at that.
The golf course was Castle Stewart that he won the Scottish Open. But there's an esteemed list of people that have won this. Obviously, a lot of Europeans, but there's a special story going on this year. Chris Gotterup won this tournament last year. All right, and so this past week, we were, we did our golf weather last week about the John Deere Classic up in Illinois, there at the Quad Cities area,
right?
And Chris Gotterup, I don't know if you watch it because you always have skin in the game. I know there's
I won money. I picked them.
You're the Nancy Pelosi of golf broadcasting, man. It's all gold. You beat all the averages, Jimmy the Greek, everybody. But he won. He came back and won the John Deere Classic. Well, a lot of times some of these, some of the guys, and he's having a great year. He's won.
They're riding high. He could do it.
But he decided, to play in that. So did Zach Johnson. Zach
Johnson. He should play it. He's got a chance to win it back to back.
Yeah, Zach Johnson skipped the Scottish, not the Open Championship, but the USGA Open, the seniors, because it was a special connection to the John Deere Classic. Well, so did Chris Gotterup. Right. So he decided that he wanted to play in that, and he won it.
Yes. Okay. And that's good. That's money in the bank.
Well, he's a defending champ here. So And so Rory McIlroy did win it 2023. I'm looking it up
Yep.
here. And, Aaron Rai, the guy who wears 2 golf gloves from India, won the PGA Championship this year. He
Yep.
won it in 2020.
I think
So anyway,
Scheffler's still favored, and I think McIlroy's second. I haven't seen where Goddard's at yet. I got to look at that.
yeah, so this it's been going on a long time. If you like listening to golf broadcasting, David Faraday won at Hags Castle in 1986. So anyway, so that's just a little quick history of the Scottish Open. So with that, Bill, what's your take on the Open Championship for next week? Because I know that we're trying to get through this week's Scottish Open, but next week, 154th Open Championship, you'll probably have to do some extensive research on that one.
I'm going to probably start that tomorrow. I just finished up today's research this morning, so yeah, we're gonna have to work on. We're starting on that one tomorrow. I do my research. I'm usually pretty good. The weather can be fluctuating a little bit though, and you got to understand the weather in Scotland is highly variable and toxic. I mean, anything can happen from a drop of a notice. As we saw even last week at the John Deere in the Midwest, things popped up that we didn't predict. So I mean, as you know, living on the East Coast in St. Augustine, things pop up all the time that aren't predicted. So it can be variable, but with the winds going all the time and that North Sea right there, that could be pretty hairy there.
Well, Bill, there you have it. Everybody, you've been listening to Mic'd Up on the PGA Tour, and this week and next from the DP World Tour also, featuring Wildbills Golf Weather. I'm your host, Mic'd Up PGA broadcaster John Rager. And please remember this, to always carry an umbrella in case it rains. See you next week.